Hey guys, Marco the dog trainer here. Today we're going to be doing a video on the best e-collars for multiple dogs. Now, most of the collars we're going to talk about in this video are set up as a 2-dog system, but a few of them can actually be set up as a 3-dog system. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I really only feel comfortable recommending Dogtra to my clients. So that's really all of the collars we're going to talk about today are within the Dogtra brand. Now, depending on what features we're looking for, how far away we want to be from our dog, what size our dog is, and all sorts of other variables, that's going to kind of determine what model is going to work best for us. So we kind of have a lot to talk about today. So we're going to break this into 3 segments so we can keep this as organized as possible. Okay, so the first segment is what I'm going to call like the remote style, because there's kind of 2 different ways that they're going to set up multiple dog systems on a remote. And one style might work better for you than the other, kind of depending on what your needs are. Okay, so the first segment is going to be about style or remote setup. The second is going to be based off of size of the dog. So we're going to go over the models that are typically used for small dogs, models typically used for medium dogs, and then the models typically used for large dogs. And then after that, the third segment is going to be like a quick overview of each of the models we talk about in this video. Now, obviously, I don't want this video to be an hour long, so we're not going to deep dive into each of them. I'm just going to kind of talk about the most important points that'll be relevant for the decision-making process. So we've got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it. Okay, guys, so as far as style is concerned, like I said before, Dogtra is going to kind of have 2 different setups for a multiple dog system. So the first one I'm going to refer to as toggle switch, meaning that the remote's going to come with like all your typical buttons, nick, constant, vibrate. Depending on the model, there might be a couple other buttons on there as well. But you have to manually switch the toggle between dog 1 or dog 2. So if you were going for a walk, and let's say dog 1 was getting into a little trouble, you have to flip the switch over to make sure it's set to dog 1 when you press the button. Now, let's say you were continuing your walk and dog 2 is starting to get into a little trouble. You're going to have to manually switch the toggle over to dog 2, because if you don't do that and you hit the button, you're going to be correcting dog 1 again. So it's a little bit of a nuisance because you have to constantly be switching between dog 1, dog 2, dog 1, dog 2. And I think there's a little bit of a higher risk to be accidentally correcting the wrong dog. Okay, now I have a model like that, and it's not the end of the world, but it can add a little bit of an inconvenience. Okay, now the second style I like a little bit better. It's what I call individual button, I guess is what we'll call it. And that's going to be a remote that has different colored buttons on the remote. And it's usually going to be a black button that connects to collar 1 and an orange button that connects to collar 2. And then that way you don't have to switch between dog 1 or dog 2. You're just going to hit whatever button is connected to that dog's collar. So, so that can be pretty nice because now you can correct both dogs at the same time if you needed to. And it's just going to save you that hassle of constantly making sure that it's set on the right dog. Now, there still is a toggle switch on most of the models that have the individual button, but instead of it being between dog 1 and dog 2, the toggle switch is going to switch between nick and continuous. Okay, and this might be a little confusing, but as I get into the different models, I'll make sure to clarify exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay, so let's say those are the 2 different options: toggle switch and individual button. Now, the third kind of style component isn't so much about dog 1 or dog 2 or toggle switches or anything like that. It's more just about the display, where some of these models, they just only have like a rotating dial. No lights or anything like that. You just rotate the dial and it's like very manual to decide what level stimulation it's going to be on. Now, the second style is going to be like a backlit digital screen. And again, you know, I have both models, but I prefer the ones with the backlit screen because if I'm walking at night, it makes it a little easier for me to see what number I have it set on. It's a little bit more precise, and it's just a little bit easier. So that's kind of the last style thing that I would think about as we go through these different models. Okay, guys, so as far as sizing goes, we're going to start with the models for small dogs. So the smallest two-dog system out there for Dogtra is going to be the IQ Mini. This is going to be a toggle switch, dog 1 or dog 2, and it does not have a digital screen, just a rotating dial. Now, moving up one size, still in the small dog range, is going to be the IQ Plus. Very similar in the sense that it's a toggle switch, dog 1, dog 2, and again, no backlit screen. It's just a little bit stronger and a little bit bigger than the IQ Mini. Now, moving into the medium dog range, we've got three models that are all pretty similar for the most part. We've got the 202, the 282, and the 280X. So the 202 is going to be individual button. It's got the black button and the orange button, but it does not have a digital screen. Okay, now moving on to the 282, it's got the individual buttons, but it does have a digital display. So that's really the main difference between the 202 and the 282. Okay, now moving on to the 280X is a little bit stronger than the other two and has some extra features that the other two don't have. Okay, but the 280X is going to be toggle switched, and it can actually switch up to 3 dogs. So a toggle switch for 1, dog 2, dog 3. And it also comes with a digital screen. Okay, now moving on to like the large and extra large dogs, we've got the Dogtra Arc, which is going to be individual button. It has the black button, the orange button, and it comes with the digital display. Moving on to the extra large end of things, we've got the 1902 and the 1900X. So the 1902 is individual buttons, black button, orange button, and it does come with the digital display. And then moving on to the 1900X, similar to the 280X, it connects up to 3 collars, but it is toggle switch, so dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, and it does have a digital display. All right, guys, let's take a little bit of a deeper dive on each of these individual models. Now, before you skip ahead to the different models that are a little more applicable to your dogs, I just want you guys to understand that I'm giving you guys kind of like the general recommendations of what models are kind of designed for what size dogs, but I do want you guys to understand that there is a little bit of flexibility there. There are times that I'll use a smaller collar on a bigger dog just because they don't need a super high level of stimulation. And then there are times I'll use bigger collars on smaller dogs because maybe they need a higher level, or maybe they have a unique kind of shape that a bigger collar fits a little bit more appropriately. So understand there is a little bit of flexibility there, okay? But now let's start with the IQ Mini. So the IQ Mini, it has a limited waterproofing. It connects from remote to collar up to about 400 yards. And it's the weakest collar we talk about in this video. It's unique in the sense that it doesn't actually have contact points. So like I don't use this collar a whole bunch. There's kind of a time and a place for it. The only time I really use this collar is if a dog is too tiny for the IQ Plus, that the IQ Plus is just going to be too big or bulky, or it's not going to make good contact. Now the IQ Mini is a toggle switch type remote, dog 1, dog 2, and it does not come with a digital screen. Now moving on to the IQ Plus, similar in the sense that it's limited waterproofing. It connects up to 400 yards from remote to collar. It is a bit stronger than the IQ Mini. And then as far as like its features go, just like the IQ Mini, it's got your typical nick, continuous, vibrate. It does have your standard contact points. So you can replace those for longer or shorter ones depending on your dog's fur. And then moving on to the style, it is a toggle switch type style, and it does not have a digital screen. Okay, now moving into the medium dog collars, the 202, the 282, the 280X. I should probably bring up that a lot of people that are going to be looking for a 2-dog system, they might not have 2 large dogs or 2 small dogs. So I want you to consider these medium range collars as a possible option as a happy medium for a collar that might work for, if you have a slightly smaller dog and a slightly bigger dog. These medium range collars might help you meet in the middle to hit the needs of both of those different dogs, okay? But the 202, I mean, really all three of these collars have the same capabilities as far as waterproofing and distance and strength. But the 202 is entirely waterproof. It connects up to a half a mile away, and it's stronger than the IQ Mini and the IQ Plus. It has your typical Nick continuous vibrate and your typical contact points that can be replaced if needed. The 202 is an individual button collar, so it's got your black buttons and your orange buttons, but it does not have a digital display. Now, moving on to the Dogtra 282, like I said, very similar to the 202. Entirely waterproof, connects up to a half a mile away, a little bit stronger. And as far as features go, again, Nick, continuous, vibrate, and contact points that you can replace with longer or shorter ones as needed. The 282 is also individual buttons, black button, orange button, and it also comes with a digital display. So that's why a lot of times I opt for the 282 over the 202. Okay, now moving on to the third medium collar, which is the Dogtra 280X. So the 280X, again, entirely waterproof, connects up to a half a mile away, is actually stronger than the 202 and the 282, and it has a lot more features. So it has your Nick continuous, vibrate, it has a boosted continuous, it has a light on it, and it also has an auditory tone. And another kind of cool thing about the 280X is it can connect up to 3 dogs, which is kind of cool. And then as far as like the switch goes, it's going to be a toggle switch. So dog 1, dog 2, dog 3. And it does have a digital display as well. Okay, so those are our medium range collars. Moving on to the large and extra large. Okay, we've got the Arc. Now the Arc is entirely waterproof, connects up to 3/4 of a mile from remote to collar, and has your typical Nick continuous vibrate, and again, the adjustable contact points. Okay, now it is individual button, so you have black buttons and orange buttons, and it has a digital screen. Okay, now moving on to the extra large collars, the 1902 and the 1900X. Okay, so these are the strongest collars. Okay, so the 1902 is entirely waterproof, connects up to 3/4 of a mile. These are the strongest collars on this list. And again, the 1902 has your kind of typical features: Nick, continuous, vibrate, and this is going to be individual buttons, orange and black buttons, and it has a digital screen. And then moving on to the 1900X, again, entirely waterproof, 3/4 of a mile in distance. The strongest collar on this list. I'm not exactly sure if it's stronger than the 1902, but it's definitely similar. Those two are at least equal. And then as far as features go, again, the 1900X model has some extra kind of fun stuff. Like, again, Nick, continuous, vibrate, boosted continuous, the auditory tone, and the light. And again, just like the 280X, it can connect up to 3 dogs. It's going to be a toggle switch, dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, and it also comes with the digital screen. So that is my quick overview of all of the different models we talk about in this video. Again, I'm going to put product links in the video description, so feel free to check any of these out if you're interested. If you have any questions about your situation, feel free to leave a comment, and I usually try to get back to those as quick as I can. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.